Jimmy Donaldson, this comes by way of entrepreneur.com. Jimmy Donaldson, known as Mr.Beast, will be hosting and executive producing a reality competition called the Beast Games, or maybe there's not just Beast Games, which will air exclusively on Prime Video. The show will have 1,000 contestants competing for $5 million in a cash prize. The YouTuber behind the biggest YouTube channel has announced this, and let me scroll down a little bit in the article here. Donaldson has hosted competitions on his YouTube channel before, including the $456,000 Squid Game in Real Life challenge. He released that 2 years ago and received over 589 million views. In the ages 1 through 100, Fight for $500,000, released 9 months ago, had 350 million views. And so Jimmy broke the news on the 18th, so last week. I'm going to be filming the largest game show in history and releasing it on Amazon Prime Video. This is going to be an insane show, he went on to say. So we got a little clip here of Donaldson talking about it himself.
So funny. When you say his name, I'm like, who's that?
Donaldson. I'm all proper with it. Donaldson's talking about
Mr.
it.
Donaldson.
Each one of these episodes will be bigger than the biggest YouTube video I've ever made.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking monsters upon monsters of projects. Like, picture our Squid Game, but like, that's just a normal episode in this series. Like, that's a bad episode.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty mind-blowing.
So it's like physical challenges, mental challenges, and when can we expect roughly to watch it?
It should be later this year, but obviously I'm not going to put out something that I don't like. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed. Like,
Okay.
It should, if everything goes to plan, be like November, December. Each one of these
So how do you, from the entrepreneur's perspective?
So first off, what I think he's actually doing, I watched an interview with him last year where he was talking about his platform has officially become so big that brands can't afford to pay him what he's worth.
Yeah.
And so he just said, I'll just stop taking brand deals because I can just make more money making my own videos and give away my own money. So why you can't afford to pay for this viewership. And so what he's doing is he's breaking out of the YouTube vein and going to potentially a larger platform like Amazon, where he can potentially get that advertiser dollar and continually raise the bar and make more money from brand deals. But it is a further testament of everything we have talked about. Like, the baby boomers have been running the show since 1983. That's when they were stepping up as entrepreneurs. They're stepping out. The next generation stepping up. And so for everybody who thinks that they can still get away with not having a personal brand platform, like I guess you might be able to in like a local business sense. It becomes much harder as you try to, build a more national type of brand to not have a platform that you can speak from. So maybe as the local roofer guy, it works a little bit better. But even then, if I'm comparing two roofers and everything's the same and one guy has personal brand and the other one doesn't, and our values align, I'm probably going to go with that guy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, for me, just looking at it, I thought it was, for me, the parlay with Amazon, for me, as you pointed out, was just a significant step up. And didn't you just realize, I was telling Cole before the show, like, once you get to a certain level, the doors just open.
Yeah.
And which also makes, I think, for the entrepreneur, the investment, such a valuable one. It doesn't come fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good point to emphasize as an entrepreneur. If you're building content and brand and expecting immediate payoff, it's a lot like investing. You're putting money into your account over time, and the power of compounding takes over time. Just look at us. The first year we were iterating and trying and doing a bunch of stuff, and in the last month we've had the same amount of viewership hours as we did in an entire year. Because we I don't want to say cracked the code, but we've gotten better. We learned, we iterated, right? Yep. We measured, we grew, and we did it again.
And it's also what Mr.Beast understands, which content creators understand, that people who are new need to understand, is that it's not about you, but how can you do what you do in a way that actually resonates in some way with the person on the other side of that camera.
Yeah, and he's been at it for 10 years now?
Yeah, I think longer than that, probably. For about 14 years or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, typical entrepreneur story, right? Like the first 4 or 5 years, you're just trying to figure it out if you've never done it before. Plus, back then it was totally new. And then all of a sudden you get it and you grow and you progress. And so, he's 10 years doing this. That's like a pretty significant milestone considering 80% of businesses fail in the first 2 years, and of those 80% fail in the next 2 years, and 90% of them never make it to 10 years.
Yeah.
So he's doing something right.
Well, and what was that stat you pointed out before we hopped on about the age of people who are successful in business and didn't reach millionaire status and billionaire status?
It said average business owner is 45. And we already know that. The majority of businesses started in this country are people between the ages of 30 and 40. Average millionaire is 57. Average billionaire is 67.
Yeah.
So time of the game matters. So he's already a billionaire on paper, net worth, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, good for him.
Yeah, and the last thing I think about when I think about people who need to make a brand, who need to create a brand for their business or their personal brand, there are a lot of people out there who are really successful, really skilled, really insightful, really entertaining. But because of whatever lens they have on content, they are missing out on the opportunities they have the most versus the people who see it and get it and who are trying everything under the sun with no skills, no experience, faking it. When there's people out there who
It's
are
the dichotomy, though, of like, well, I'm doing this. I'm not very good at it. I'm not seeing results. Like, I don't really need to do this.
Yeah.
So whatever. I don't need to do it.
Like I can think of several people that if they just put the reps in, their experience and knowledge alone, and they actually have done things,
Right.
that would elevate their brand because people are searching for credible people to follow.
Right.
Because everyone's like, I'm so great, and that's not true. So
Everybody's got the next coaching program, right?
the next course,
Yeah.
the next, yeah,
The
it's funny.
22-year-old life coach.
Dude, in the last year, I've seen probably about 30 YouTubers that I follow in content. They grow. They start off talking about things that really matter to them. And then it's like, so we have our coaching program to teach others how we have grown just like we've grown. And you can be a part of it. And it's like, dang, I thought you cared about this. You know, it's just like,
well, I mean, eventually everybody reaches a point where they need to monetize. So one of the drawbacks to being a pure content creator is they don't really have a lot of business skill. Right. So entrepreneurs, like real business owners who figure out how to create content, they have a real business skill. And so they don't need to resort to a coaching program because that's like the extent of what their mind can think of.
Yeah.
When they could be like building a software, building a better app, but they don't have any of those skills. And so they default to coaching program, which is like so played out.
Yeah, it is played out. And I think all these things point to being who you truly are, which Beast, Donaldson, Jimmy, whatever you want to call him, as in fact, he's all in on himself as a creator. And that's why he's taken the approach he's taken. And your odds for success drastically increase by just doing that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So get out there and create.